Hello and welcome back to another video lesson. We're going from zero to producer in 90 days with Ableton Live. I'm your instructor, Torbjorn. Big thanks to Ableton for extending that trial out to 90 days. We can all get free Ableton Live 10 Suite version while we're in quarantine. We can stay creative and stay productive. Last video was all about the intro and the build-up. We were turning a simple chord progression and a melody into a full 16-bar intro, and then we duplicated that over to the second 16 bars, 17 through 33, and we turned it into a build-up for like an EDM trap, maybe dubstep type song. And all we really did was started with a single chord progression and a single melody, and we duplicated those layers, layered multiple sounds, shifted them up or down an octave to make sure that they sounded good together. We started our intro without drums, and then we added them over time. Every 8 bars, you got a new element. And towards the end of the build-up section, we were stuttering the drums, using pitch bend to increase the pitch of our sounds over time. A reverse crash cymbal, building up that energy into the drop. This is going to be all about making the actual drop. So I wanted to do this technique called a fake drop. I feel like everybody pretty much knows the sound of an EDM song now. That drop section is like the loud part with the dance beat and all the craziest sounds. And at the festival, all the smoke machines and all the lasers go off at that moment. We've kind of come to expect that sick drum beat and that big bass hit to happen on the downbeat, right? So we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, bow, and there's our big drop. And this fake drop technique is an example of how to play with that expectation and hopefully create something cool and unexpected. I would not say to do this in every one of your songs, but maybe like 1 out of 5 to 1 out of 10 songs using this technique or throwing a song with this technique in your DJ set can be really, really impactful. So here's what we need. For the fake part, we need an impactful vocal sample, and we need one short wobbly bass sound, and maybe like a drum or a tom fill. So let's do that. I've picked our vocal sample already.
Do you know what time it is?
Do you know what time it is? And I'm going to just make a wobble bass sound. I'm actually going to do this with a third-party plugin called Serum. I'm sure many people are super familiar with this. You can make this same type of sound with Operator or Wavetable. I just know how to do it so fast in Serum with just a few touches of the knobs and buttons. It's basically frequency modulation of a sine wave with another sine wave. So I'm making this shape here. I'm applying this shape to our frequency modulation. And now when I play a note, we get this like whoa. Really, really common in dubstep, trap, modern like trap type sounds. A little bit of distortion helps. A little bit of compression, the multiband, and then I like to just do a little bit of reverb as well. Really cool trick with the reverb is if you put the reverb all the way up and then you use this LFO shape to turn it down. Maybe that's a little extreme. Then it cleans up, no reverb while the thing is making the wobble sound. But then as soon as the sound stops, you get your reverb back, which is really nice. And then we'll just use a filter to kind of get rid of some more of those high frequencies. And let's actually use this LFO on our volume of our oscillator as well. Awesome. That's exactly what I'm looking for. We'll just draw in a little MIDI clip here. And put our note in, and then we get our wobble. Maybe we can do that an octave higher. Maybe I'll just put it on an F. I don't know. We'll find the perfect note for it in just a little bit. So we've got our vocal sample, we've got our wobble bass sound, a drum fill.
Do you know what time it is?
I'm going to go here to the drums menu, drum hits. I believe we've got toms. I kind of like these 505 toms. Just go ahead and drag these in here, and I bet we'll need to turn them down a little bit.
Do you know what time it is?
I don't know. Maybe those aren't the ones. Let's try a couple different ones. Those ones just ended up being a little too like kind of muddy sounding. I don't really know. We can fade these toms just so that they're real nice and tight. It's always easy to go through and hot swap your sounds or change them out. We just want to get the idea down here.
Do you know what time it is?
Awesome. So this part all the way up until here, this is like the fake drop. Normally we would be expecting like a giant, just like bah, super loud, aggressive, all the lasers going off, all of the lights flashing. But by not doing this, even though it's only just for like a little bit over 1 bar, it's going to make everybody feel like this note here, when that bass actually comes back in and is super loud, that it was unexpected. And so we can kind of like play with that feeling of like, oh, here comes the bass. Oh, what? Something's happening. So I'll go here into my sounds. I'm going to just type in hip hop because I know that there's this bass that comes with Ableton called hip hop sub that I like a lot. And let's drag that onto a new track here. And lining up with this third kick drum, that's where our MIDI clip is going to be. Just make a big one there. Maybe not legato, maybe we can change the notes. And then I always like to do like a little bit of a 808 thing here. I'm going to grab some samples from my synth pack, bass, 808 Warfare. Just grab one of those and do just 2 little notes here at the end. I like the bass, but I don't really like this thing here. Maybe that's not the one. Let's find a different 808. That one might be okay. And I actually want to scoot this over, finding the pitch. Dun. Dun. And then put some little fades on that. And I might even shift these up. Oh yeah, they're not warped, so they get slower when they get shorter when you pitch them up. All right, so let's listen back to our whole thing. I'm just going to loop that section. Those little 808s at the end is something that I like to do.
Do you know what time it is?
I think that reverb on this has got to go. It's making that sound last a little bit too long. That's cool. We've got our sub. I definitely want this to be a little bit more aggressive. Similar to a couple videos ago, we were talking about how to process your bass, separating that sub, that low frequency from your bass that has like distortion on it and all of that type of stuff. Can help you make sure that your sound is heard on like a small sound system. Also has that clean sub when you are playing on a big sound system. So here's our bass. I'm just going to distort it a bunch. And then I'm just going to grab an EQ8 and get rid of all of those low frequencies here with a low cut filter. Kind of rough and dirty, not perfect, but you get the idea.
Do you know what time it is?
All right, and now when we duplicate this over, because obviously this needs to be a little bit longer, we're going to do the same thing, but just without the fake drop. Duplicate our drums over. Same thing with the 808.
Do you know what time it is?
Make sure that we got our bass locked in right here. I was off just by a hair. So we'll fix that. Now we can duplicate this whole thing over And now that's 8 more bars of music. So we just want to make sure that we're layering an extra sound. I'll just throw some hi-hats in there. You might want to layer some more bass sounds. You might want to layer some chords depending on your song.
Do you know what time it is?
Just do a couple little hi-hat things. Again, I'm just doing it quick and dirty just to be fast. Do a little stutter hi-hat there. You can do it fancy. You can do it simple. Always easy to go back and change stuff within Ableton. So just really should be no fear of like doing anything wrong, or you've got an undo button with like up to 100 states of undo, I think.
Do you know what time it is? Do you know what time it is?
All right, so really, we don't need to get super into the creating the actual drop. But again, the concept is just that instead of that big hit at the very beginning of bar 1 of our drop, we're just creating an expectation with the buildup that comes before it that there's going to be that big hit, and then we make them wait for a couple extra beats and just play with that expectation. There you have it. Quick and dirty example of the fake drop. Expecting that big hit on the downbeat and making them wait for a couple bars with a cool vocal sample, that little wobbly bass sound, a drum fill. You can try any and all different combinations of things that we talked about, or throw some of your own techniques in there. Throw some techniques from another video lesson or from a whole other tutorial, whatever you're vibing with. Hopefully that was useful. Hopefully you were entertained and can apply this to some of your own beats that you're making at home. And again, big thanks to Ableton for providing us all with that 90-day free trial of Live 10 Suite version. And for everybody at home, stay productive, stay positive, make lots of beats. Happy producing. I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.